We are happy to have on the Illini Inquirer podcast and happy to welcome back to Champaign and the University of Illinois. It's Dre Brown, now the Director of Player Personnel at Illinois in the Illinois Football Recruiting Department. Dre, welcome back, man. How's it feel to be back in Champaign?
Oh, it is. It's awesome, man. I even tell you just from the weather. It's even good to be back from that standpoint. But no, I'm fired up, man. I've already been, a lot of phone calls. When I first got here, I probably had over, 150, 200 text messages from people all over the Midwest and country. But it's good, man. I'm fired up to be back. This is it's a really unique place and a place that I've grown to, just over the years, just to love. It's a little bit harder loving it from afar, but being back and putting on some of the orange Illinois Nike gear just brought back all the memories. But no, I'm excited, man. I had a tremendous time. Obviously at Notre Dame with Chad Bowden, the general manager there, and Marcus Freeman, the head coach. I learned so much over there. But it's it's good to be back home. That's all I can say. It's just really good to be back home.
Obviously, you played here, Dre. You fell in love with this place as a recruit and then as a player. Your wife, Lindsay, is from Champaign, but you had a good thing at Notre Dame. You had just gotten a promotion to be basically the number 2 in that recruiting department.
Right.
So what as you went through this process drew you back to accepting the job for Illinois football and coming back here?
Yeah, I mean, the timing of it was crazy. Like I talked to Pat Embleton, and I talked to him down in Nashville, and that's when I was like the number 3 at Notre Dame. Didn't know if I was getting promoted, but I was like, I saw Nate McNeil left, and I was like, hey man, I would definitely love to come back and learn, develop under you guys. They have position coaches they had to hire, and it gets to April, and I just got promoted at Notre Dame, and Pat called me, and I'm like, he's like, hey man, I just want to see. And at first I actually told him no, and I was like, hey, like I'm good. But one thing about Pat Embleton, he's an awesome guy. And I've known him since I was probably 15 years old. So the relationship goes back. So he didn't give up. I think he typed me like a 1-page Word document about why you should, at least come on campus and interview. And so I ended up coming on campus and interview, and I immediately just fell in love with this place all over again. And the one meeting interview that I wanted to really see if it was a fit was when I sat down with Coach B, and I talked to him for probably over an hour, 2 hours, and I was like, this is a guy that I want to work with, and that personally I feel like is going to help develop me, learn under him and Pat Embleton. I feel like it's really going to develop me and kind of this recruiting world, just because I've obviously a little bit of a fast riser, you would say, in this, being a director of player personnel at 26 in the Big Ten. And I'm very grateful, to get started at SEC, Tennessee, and going to Notre Dame. I feel like I still have a lot to learn. And, Coach B has obviously been a head coach for a long time, and Pat's been at Illinois for the last, decade plus. So, just knowing those two guys are going to have my back, and they're 2 of the hardest working people I knew. It was, when I really sat down and kind of, made a list of things I want, in my life, personally and work related, it was almost a no-brainer to come back to the University of Illinois.
Dre, what is it about Coach B's message, his vision for this place that you gravitated to, and how can you help him get there?
Yeah, I mean, thing about Coach B, he's all about just winning football games, and just sitting down with him and understanding, a little bit of the way he ticks, and kind of hearing his story about how he's from Illinois, and just his experience alone. I was just like blown away. Like, man, this guy, he's been in almost every game, every thing you could imagine. And I think when he does have when he does have the players, the talent, the depth, as they did in 22. I know last year, they lost some close games, but you see that 2022 team when they do have the personnel. We're really well coached. We have some of the best coaches, some of the best coordinators. Even just I saw spring practice when I was on my interview. Just seeing those guys, it kind of motivates me. Just, hey, let's go get the best players that fit this place, that are tough, smart, dependable, and they're out there. You just gotta, be relentless in recruiting them and building relationships with them. But like when I was a kid, I didn't know much about Illinois, but when I got on campus, everything changed. So getting these kids to, buy in early, get them on campus, and then obviously, we got to win football games. So.
Dre, take me back to before you got here, before you got to Notre Dame. Like, why this field? What is it about the recruiting side of things that appeals to you? And like, how did that get started for you that ended up leading you here?
Yeah, so in 2020, NFL fizzled out. I mean, I was a running back with 2 torn ACLs. I was just happy enough to get all Big Ten my senior year. But football ended for me, and I was very grateful for my journey. I just had a great high school career. College was up and down, but ended it. I'm taking going to a bowl game, and to my Illinois degree, I got to make a lot of connections here, and I did some job shadows at UC Bank. Pat Fitzgerald, my close friend Jimmy Fitzgerald's, father, he helped me out a lot. Just kind of what's life after football look like, and I actually got to get an opportunity working for UC Bank with Martin O'Donnell. I was working commercial banking, and it was an amazing experience. Like, I think some of the things I learned there actually helps me in my field now, just in terms of just analyzing stuff, processing things, and so. But I knew that I necessarily didn't want to be at a quote unquote desk for the next 20, 30 years. And I've always loved football. Even when I was a kid, my mom will tell you I was a kid that would, instead of watching SpongeBob, I would watch 1990s Dallas Cowboys games. So football's in my blood. My dad was a semi-pro football coach in Decatur for the Macon County Eagles. And so I've always just loved football. So when I decided, hey, like I would love to get back in football. I got an opportunity with Alex Golish. Talk about relationships are important. Alex Golish is head coach at South Florida. He recruited me, and he's kind of staying contact with guys. But he's like, "Hey, man, I got this lower level recruiting job, but you're in the SEC. It's a foot in the door." And I wasn't making much, but just took that, and then from there, and I thought I really thought I was going to be a coach. Obviously, I had Thad Ford, which is I work with him now, but he was my coach. Just seeing his impact in my life, and as this thing progressed, I kind of just started kind of working my way up the ranks. And now, just with how much college football's changed, even since I've gotten here, and I got into college football in 2021, it's changed even since then. That was only 3 years ago, and so I kind of almost fell into it a little bit. But now I think you start seeing these director of player personnel, general managers roles. They're going to end up being almost the cream of the crop in college football. Obviously, the position coaches you can't do much without them, but just in terms of, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on in college football. And these positions are needed, in this fast growing industry, college football. So fell into it a little bit, but now I feel like I got some staying power, and I've learned a lot at Tennessee and Notre Dame.
I was going to say, Dre, like, the director of player personnel, the G, I think the importance of that is going to go out. So I like that career path for people. And Pat Embleton is kind of an example of that, right? And you talked about, you've known him. I mean, he's been here since 2012. He's been here longer than anybody. Sure. What was it about that relationship? How important was that for you to take this job? And what's it like now to kind of be his right-hand man? Like, what are the responsibilities?
Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, Pat, my mom, obviously, she loves Pat, but Pat was right there with me, when I was on the recruiting visits back in, 2012, 2013. He's just a guy that is going to bring his best every day, and a guy that you can really know you can trust. And it's cool just because we have a personal relationship, deep relationship. We can talk about pretty much anything, and just kind of seeing the success they've had. A lot of times I would almost try to, I would see them doing things and I would try to steal it, take it back to wherever I was, just because they're very forward thinking, very innovative. That starts with even with Coach B, but yeah, just kind of responsibilities work with him. I'm gonna be more high school focused, high school evaluations, high school recruiting focus, and then there's only certain times of the portal, and that portal window is open. So when those times are open, I'm diving into the portal as well. But a lot of it's just building, those classes full of tough, smart, dependable football players that are also really talented, and then focusing on, the in-state kids. And, it means a lot to me being an in-state kid. And I can tell them, hey, I've been to the, quote unquote, the blue bloods in college football at the top. I've seen what it looks like. And, Illinois, we're right there, just with the way, and just seeing how the program's ran by Coach B. So yeah, it'll be a lot of relationship building, high school evaluations, and that's nonstop. There's really no breaks in that. You got to. I keep my phone on ring, all night. I might get a call from a recruit at 9, 10 p.m. Got to take it because it's that important.
Dre, you've seen recruiting at the highest level at Tennessee. I know the SEC is a little bit different. And then at Notre Dame, I mean, one of the most prestigious universities and football programs in the country. You've been in Illini. You came back to the Illini. Like, what do you tell recruits about why this experience would be different for them, especially the in-state kids, as you're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think especially this place, Illinois, you're going to get developed in almost every facet of your life. Like even just take a kid like me. I'm a kid from, DeKalb, Illinois. Came down here not knowing, what to expect, but I grew in my faith. I grew, in the weight room. I grew on the football field. I grew in the classroom, and I was, I still talk to a lot of my former buddies that I played with, and a lot of these guys are in their late 20s. They have 6-figure jobs because of the Illinois degree, and you got these a lot of NIL, and everybody thinks they're going to be a superstar, but I think it's almost less than 1.5% of college football players go on to the NFL, and the average length of a career is about 2 to 4 years. So getting these kids to understand, like, hey, the University of Illinois, the network, the alumni, it's bigger than it's bigger than you think right now, just being a 15, 16-year-old. And it's going to carry you. I don't think I'd be back here. Obviously I went to Illinois, but I don't think I'd be able to go to Tennessee or Notre Dame if I wasn't at Illinois, just because of the things I learned and growth and development here. So just telling them, like, hey, this is not just a football decision. If it's a football decision, great. Just go to the best team. But we do feel like I do see and feel like we have some of the best coaches and the best developers of young men here on staff, and guys that actually, they really want to build a personal relationship with the recruits. And so just having that, I just think you come to Illinois, it's going to make you a better person, and you'll be able to achieve all your dreams and goals. I mean, even just take a guy like Devin Witherspoon, for example, 0-star out of Pensacola, got to reach all his dreams, and everything, happened at Illinois. Obviously, he put a lot of work in, but if he goes somewhere else, is he a top 5 pick? I don't know. We don't know that. But I bet if you ask him, he can definitely say this place helped him in that aspect.
Dre, you've seen a lot of different versions of Illinois. You've been a part of a lot of different versions. So when this thing is going, and Coach Bielema obviously has a vision to get it going, like, what can this program be when all the pieces are in place?
Yeah, I think I was actually just looking this morning at some of the schools that have kind of been built into a consistent winner. And I was actually studying the University of Kentucky. They've done a pretty good job of late, just kind of seeing what they have done. And obviously, it starts recruiting in-state, but it's getting some of those. It's really about hitting on your evaluations. I think they've done a pretty good job. Like, I mean, some of the guys I've seen, I'm like, man, where'd you get this kid at? Well, this kid's from somewhere in Illinois that I've never even heard of. I'm like, wow. So they've done a good job, but just bringing a little bit, just learning my past places, just a little bit more fast pace, in terms of just getting on early on guys. But it's cool. I just think this place, when you win games here, the stadium's going to be full. You see it in basketball. When I was here, our basketball team wasn't that great. Now, it's almost sold out pretty much sold out every game. I think it's the same thing. And once you get the momentum rolling, sustain that. I think this will be a place where it's going to be a lot more attractive to recruits. I mean, you saw that 8-4, 8-5 season. What that did for the community and what that did in the eyes of recruits. Obviously, capitalized on that this last recruiting class. But it's just showing, hey, you can come here, you can be like a Johnny Newton. You can be developed into a 2nd-round pick, and you can get your degree, and you can do it all here.
I mean, Dre, we talked a lot about your career here, what you've done, kind of some of the adversity you went through. So when you look back, I don't know if you've gotten a chance since you've been back in town to reflect on kind of the meaning that this university and your time here had on you, but like, how did this place shape you into, beyond the connections you made, just as a person to be where you are now?
Right. I mean, it was a crazy 5 years, a lot of ups and downs, but I came here at 17 years old, early enrollee. Thought I knew a decent amount about life, had no idea what I was doing. But just all the different things that went into being here, like being, I got to speak to the team, and I was like, I've been in almost everybody's shoes. I was the injured guy at one point. I was the guy that played special teams. I was, the MVP of the offense, a year, and just showing them like, hey man, whatever cards you're dealt with, you just gotta, do it to the best of your abilities or whatever it is. So I pride myself on that. Just trying to, whatever situation I am, just trying to be the best at and finding things to be better at. And that's what's cool about Illinois. I don't know if it's, I was talking to, best friend, one of my best friends is Reggie Corbin. I talk to him probably every week. And we are just saying, like, there's something about this place that kind of gets you out of your comfort a little bit and, gets you to talk to people and communicate and kind of just be on your own. So, I took a lot from it. It's really built me into the man I was today, coming in as a young 17-year-old from DeKalb and leaving, 2 degrees at 22 years old. And then, going out in the real world and, just trying, obviously life after football is a transition, but I feel like I settled in pretty well, obviously being back here as the director of player personnel.
Dre, I want to ask you, you've seen some top level football players. You played with them. You've seen them now at Tennessee and Notre Dame. What is the key to evaluation? What is the key to finding the next Devin Witherspoon or Johnny Newton, whoever it is?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely not easy. You have to churn through hours of film and, you got to watch, you can't just watch, it's easy to identify a 5-star. It's the kid that's 6'4", jumping, dunking on people, scoring touchdowns. That's pretty easy. My wife could probably tell you, hey, that guy's pretty good at football. Yeah, well, it's a projection of like you said, the Devin Witherspoons, and I learned a lot at Notre Dame and Tennessee just in terms of you probably call it like body types and what the NFL is looking for, and because there's some guys that are there's some guy like I was from DeKalb, smaller town. I just, I was the coach of myself. Obviously, I had an amazing head coach, Matt Weckler, but running back, I just would run, and did score touchdowns. So just finding kids that maybe they're a little bit underdeveloped, but they have the frame, the athleticism, and measurables. I'm real big on character and measurables. I think those 2 things are very important, especially, getting guys here that are going to, go the extra mile, but also have, they can still be developed on the football field and in the weight room as well. But yeah, no, it was, I learned a lot at Notre Dame and Tennessee, just in terms of, just because I got to be around a Kyle Hamilton, seeing him practice every day. Okay, this is what a all-pro safety, like I'd be around Kyron Williams running back. And then taking what I learned from playing wise, like, I got to play against Antoine Winfield Jr., one of the better safeties in the league. I got to play against the Bosa brothers, and just seeing it up close has really helped as well. Obviously playing in the prestigious Big Ten conference. But yeah, no, they've already done a pretty good job just in terms of high school evaluations. I just want to kind of add on some of my expertise and my relationships just to keep this thing going.
Dre, you never played for Brett Bielema. So I'm wondering, since you've now been back a couple of weeks, so you're still getting your bearings probably within his program, but what are the big differences that you see of the program, of what Illinois football is now compared to when you left after a bowl game, obviously?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a lot more I'd say it's a lot more relationship focused in terms of players. I mean, I've seen tons of players just upstairs and hanging out with their coaches. And we would do that a little bit, when I was playing, but not to this level in terms of kind of just that personal relationship and really just seeing the stability. It's awesome when Aaron Henry and Coach Miller, the O-line coach, they've been here for 4 years, and so just seeing that. So stability and just kind of that, when they say family, it's real, and I could feel it as soon as I walked in the building, because we would break it down on family. When I was playing, it was kind of a cool phrase. It's really lived out here, and even just the way they do some of the recruiting visits, where the whole offensive staff is at a recruiting dinner. I was like, wow, this is unique. I haven't really seen anything like that. Just the personal touch, and I think that goes far. As for young people, it's a lot easier to go play. When you have a coach that loves you and believes in you. So I feel like they've done a really good job here, and it's awesome because me almost coming in as a stranger, you can feel that family atmosphere, that family energy immediately when I went into the building.
Dre, I know you mentioned you would maybe steal some stuff that you saw Illinois doing on the recruiting trail, and Jeremy and I obviously follow it closely, and like there's overlap between places you've been and Illinois, and it seems like they're maybe, I guess, in some of those battles a lot more now. So what's the perception of Illinois on the recruiting trail in terms of just the way they go about things, or kind of the conversations they put themselves in?
Yeah, I mean, it's I hate to say the word sneaky, but that's what it kind of comes to mind too, just being on. But like it's a little bit sneaky because they do such a, I can say we do such a good job of like building those relationships, and they feel that family atmosphere, and they know they're going to be coached up, and so you get them on campus enough to it's like, why not Illinois? Like, why would I not? And like, why? Maybe there's like years past, like, why hasn't this place done well? Because when you go see the academics, when you go see a game in Memorial Stadium and it's a full crowd, you're like, wow, this place is cool. So I think it's sneaky, and I think they have we have some leeway with kids, especially the in-state kids. Like they're going to at least give us an opportunity to come down here, just because when I was at DeKalb, the smartest kids in our school were going to Illinois. Like it was a prestige thing. Like, oh man, they're going to Illinois. They're super smart. And I think it's the same thing at many other high schools in Illinois. And so just kind of getting them on the same par with the football side of things. But once they get on campus, they're going to love it. That's for sure.
Jay, you mentioned earlier, you said, you're kind of a quote unquote fast riser in this field. You are, obviously. We went through your credentials and your age. Like, why do you think you've been able to hit the ground running in this particular job as well as you have?
I would say just relationships have always been important to me. Even when I was a senior, and one of the kind of the quote unquote guys everybody looked up to on the team, there's nobody that that I couldn't talk to. It's awesome. Some of the there's some 6th and 7th year seniors on the team that I played with, and they were freshmen. And so when I come in for my interview, and Ryan Mead gives me like a huge hug, and he's telling everybody like, man, I was a walk-on from Brooklyn, and Dre would talk to me like every week when I was a freshman. And so relationships have always been important to me, and that's what recruiting is. It's relationships. So I think being able to connect with people is a real thing. I was born in Decatur, grew up around the Springfield area, lived in DeKalb. Obviously came to University of Illinois, a very diverse place. So being able to connect with people of all walks of life, be able to connect with parents, grandparents, and in some cases, 7-on-7 coaches, trainers, recruiters. I feel like it's always been a bit of a gift of mine, just connecting with people and kind of just seeing them where they're at. I'm not thinking too high or too low of somebody, just seeing people for exactly who they are, which is kind of I feel like a gift that's been given to me, and it helps me in recruiting.
Dre, as we wrap up, I spent like 6 months of my professional career in DeKalb. So if I ever get back up there, it's usually Fatty's Pub and Grill is where I'm going to get the Cajun chicken salad. So you come back 6 years after you've been at Illinois. Where are you going? Like, what's the first place you got to go, whether it's a spot on campus or a restaurant or whatever it is?
Oh man, there's a few spots, and I'm more of a hole in the wall guy. So I love Smokies and Savoy barbecue. That's one of my favorite spots. There's like a Asian Chinese spot in the mall that I really like. Would go there, and then obviously the classics, the Maze of the world, Cactus Grill.
Yep.
I was a little bit shocked at the prices, Cactus Grill. No disrespect to them, it's just the economy nowadays. But
inflation
used to be $5.25 for the daily deals. Now they're like $9. I mean, man, we've come a long way. But yeah, there's Champaign is a great food town. It's excited to be back. My wife, her favorite is sticky rice, so I'm sure we'll be going there pretty soon. But it's a good food town, man. There's a lot of good spots. My campus one, I probably need to go to Joe's to get a burger and fries. I got to see if they're at the same level as they were in 2016, 2017, but we'll see.
Murphy's would be mine on campus. That's pretty dang good too. Dre Brown, it is great to have you back. I know so many Illini fans are excited. So we appreciate you giving us a lot of your time today, catching up with us. We'll catch up with you down the road, man. Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you guys, man. It's always a pleasure.